This is the Sisterhood Society podcast, where three sisters talk life, food, fashion, kids, and everything in between. Become part of our sisterhood where everyone is welcome at our table. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Sisterhood Society podcast. And today we're going to be tackling the topic of working with family. This was a topic that was actually submitted by the Sisterhood. So we thought, why not talk about small business, going through a pandemic and everything of the sort.
It's also a topic that we get tons of questions about too.
Yeah,
I feel like everybody
definitely
always wants to know, like, how do you work with family? Because apparently what seems very natural to us, I feel like people don't think is natural. So,
well, a lot of
kind
people say
topic.
Like they couldn't imagine working with family.
Correct.
So, and we're like, we can't imagine not working with family. But anyways, before we dive into that, we're going to go ahead and do our What's Good in the Sisterhood. So we'll start with Tara.
You always start with me, and I should have something like thought through, and I don't. So, do you have something good that you can think of? How was your coffee date yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
Whit met with, I would like to hear about it, actually.
So I met with a lady from the church. She's older and she's like the sweetest little thing. And I went in thinking like, oh, this will be like.
But here's the part that's cute. Whit thought she was meeting for coffee, but she invited her over to her house, which is so sweet. And then she asked Whit if she likes coffee or tea, and she said she'd put on a pot of coffee. And I just thought that was like so cute.
Isn't that the sweetest little thing? And as soon as I got there, she had already put like hot water in the mugs to like warm the mugs up. And then she dumped the water out and added the coffee to it. And I was like, I had never thought of that before.
Yeah, I've never heard of that before.
She's the sweetest little thing. I was going into it thinking like, oh, she probably won't want me like in her hair longer than like 40 minutes. And I was there for 2 hours, like well over 2 hours. She told me all about her grandkids and her great grandkids. She actually, Kait, do you remember our cousin Brendan's like best friend Travis?
Yeah.
It's his grandma.
Oh, hilarious.
That's funny.
So funny.
So random.
Travis is my in-laws next door neighbor now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
anyways.
Small world.
Yeah, very small world. Anyway, she was adorable and I loved just like sitting and chatting with her. I was thinking when I was sitting there, she invited me over into this like room off of her kitchen. There was like 2 like lounging chairs and she was like, and she had made a plate of cookies. It was just the sweetest little thing. And so I sat there and I was like, man, this feels like the house where time stood still, because like, meaning like you just come in and you're just relaxed and you're in absolutely no hurry to go anywhere. We were just there just to chat. And she was just like,
I think that's like a lost art though. Like having someone over for coffee, like we need to bring it back. Like everyone is in such a rush to always do things. And I think one thing I've always loved about mom and dad's house is it feels very homey and inviting, which has been mom's like top priority our entire lives. And I want that for people to feel that way when they come to my house. But I feel like the gift of hospitality has been totally lost.
Oh my word. Yeah. She had that mastered and we just sat there and chatted. And I looked at my phone at 4:45. I had gotten there right before 3. It was 4:45 and I was like, oh my word, I don't mean to like jet out of here, but I just realized I have to go. We had like worship practice that night. I was like, I've got to go to practice. And she was just like the sweetest little thing. She's like, okay, yeah, let's do this again. What? And I was like, oh yeah, April's kind of crazy for me, but like, let's chat in May. And she's like, yeah. I was like, oh, she's like oh my gosh, the sweetest thing. I can't wait to like hang out with her again. It's just kind of funny. I don't have a whole lot of friends in town anymore. They've all moved. And my closest friend is like,
you have a new grandma to hang out with.
Is an 80-year-old grandma. I love her. She's the best.
Well, Brecken's friend asked her to play upward basketball. And so I signed her up for that. And that has been like the buzz of the week. She cannot wait to start playing basketball. It starts on Monday. She wants to make sure I can come to the practice. And she wants me to come watch it. And she wants me to make sure I'm at every game. And like, she is ecstatic, like literally screaming with squeals of joy.
So's Ribs. Ribs is excited about it too.
Oh,
I have a feeling that the level of excitement between the two outwardly is probably different.
It is. It is different. Ribs excited is not even a quarter amount of Brecken's excited.
But yes, what about you, Kait?
We have had like 2.5 weeks of just like crazy busyness of like being like having family, family being in town and hosting. We hosted another friend this week, and then we were in Florida for a wedding this past weekend. So this weekend is super chill, and I'm just excited to like sit and do nothing because it's been like a minute since I've like had time to read. I actually am halfway through Greenwich Village, which if you guys don't know, we do have a book
I think
club.
it's
Greenwich Park.
Greenwich Park, sorry. I keep saying Village, which is our book club pick for the month of April. And our book club episode's coming out the 18th, right?
Yes.
Sure.
We need to record it.
Wednesday the
Yes.
18th, yeah. So if you guys are following along and want to make sure your book is read by that point, that's the date that you want to have it read. But anyways, so last night I got to read, and it was just nice to like sit on the couch and do nothing. I got takeout pho, and Phil was in the studio, and I was like, oh, this is nice. It's silent.
What is takeout pho?
It's like
Takeout.
ramen, but with minus the noodles.
It's like isn't it Vietnamese? Yeah.
So it's just broth?
It's like bone broth. Yeah, it's like bone broth with like rice noodles, chicken, and like scallions. It's amazing. It's very good for you.
I've been trying to say a bad word.
No, takeout pho. Okay, so I thought that we would start with our first question being just diving into working with family, which is our topic today. What made us decide to go into business together?
I feel like it was a natural fit because we were already working together. So it was, I think one of the questions is that people always ask is like, how did you decide who was in charge? And I was already your manager. So it felt like a natural transition to just be the same kind of setup that we had already done working for our dad. So, but I think the ultimate reason that we went into business together is because we were escaping another job that we didn't want to be in anymore. It's not the main reason why people start businesses.
Escaping is the key word there.
To make a long story short, we all worked for our dad who owned a technology company, and it was a software-based company, and he was getting ready to sell it, and we knew that things wouldn't be the same once he was going to sell.
We didn't know that initially.
Well,
we didn't actually know that initially.
We knew that there would be some differences for sure. Yeah.
We were hoping that, honestly, we hadn't even talked about the idea. He sold the company. We kind of thrown it around as like a side project.
No.
In Hawaii.
We did. We had talked about it before he actually officially sold because we had our first meeting in the hot tub in Hawaii. Remember?
Yes.
Me and you talked about, I just remember you like, do you want to go sit in the hot tub? And then we sat and you're like, okay, so this fabric we're ordering. Like I remember, and I remember Whitney wasn't really like still fully on board. And you're like, how are we going to like, because this was February and we opened in May. Of 2015. And so she was like, Whitney's not still like fully on board. So like we need to figure out a way to
Why
like
is that always that's always
it's a running theme.
It's a running Whitney is not on board. How do we convince Whitney?
We're always like scheming.
Okay, but here's the thing. I'm always the voice of reason. And you guys come out with these astronomical ideas, and I'm the one that kind of helps come in behind and figure out the details because I'm a detail person.
You make it sound like we come up with crazy ideas.
You do. You do. Always.
Not always. Most of the time they're good. Whitney's just trying to pump the brakes and make us think about it a little longer. And then we wear her down long enough until she's like, okay, fine.
That's very true.
It's like that.
She doesn't fight it very long.
It's like that TikTok that we did that was like, I think it's a bad idea.
Oh yeah, go check out our
and we're
TikTok.
like, we can't see your mouth through the gate. No. I think you said yes.
I'm going with yes. Yeah, that's literally like if that TikTok could describe our business, that's what it is. Like me and Tara get these harebrained ideas. We bring it to Whitney and she's like, absolutely not. And we're like, great, we'll start Monday. It'll be fine. We'll work it out as we go.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's the key word. We'll work it out as we go. Whereas I'm like, I want to work something out ahead of time.
Right.
So that way, when we come across a very big issue, we're already like planned for it. You know, we already have a plan for how this might go disastrously.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work in you guys' case. You guys don't quite think that way, which is fine. It makes us a good team.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Dad and I, when I worked for Dad, I felt like I was on borrowed time to like learn from him because I didn't know what he would be like when he was retired, but I figured like obviously he would step away from the business world and get to chill, you know? And so we would go on these conferences with Dad in like Vegas, and where else was it mainly Vegas?
We went to New Orleans for one of them.
Oh yeah, that was the weirdest trip ever. And so me and Dad went out to dinner in Vegas. Like there was a night in between Mom getting into town, and Mom was coming in for like Memorial Day weekend or something. And I would just sit and pick his brain. He probably like was so annoyed because he was like, I'm off the clock. But we would go to these like sushi restaurants, and I would just sit and ask him questions for hours because I was so intrigued, because I was always a kid, like when he was building these businesses, and I was never really in like his world. And I remember being like, how do you dream so big and like execute it? And he was like, well, I make a dream, like I make a plan, and then essentially I have other people execute it and clean up the mess. And I was like, I've never related to anything more in my life. Like, that is literally me. Like I come up with the idea, I start to execute it, and then I'm like, oh, there's a lot of problems here. Like someone else who's organized help me with this. But he's definitely like the visionary, and like no one could compete with like his ideas. Like he's definitely like the guy that's like, no, like I can give you the ideas, but I need someone to help me execute it.
Yeah.
I've always said that if you envision us three in the form of a train metaphor, Kait is the train, Tara is the conductor, and then I'm the one that's like chasing behind the train, like trying to like fix the track, you know?
I can't be slowed down. It's funny.
I think the thing that I've always respected about him, though, is that he did not think about, he didn't think about what could stop him. He just went after it. So he just went full speed ahead and was like, I just have this vision and I'm going to go after it. And he didn't really like ever have a concern of how he was going to get there. Yeah. And so I feel like that's one thing that has been hard to get to in business, is because there's so many things that can hold you back, you know, cash flow, or, you know, having the resources or whatever it is. And so I think so many times you can like cripple yourself in fear rather than just really going after it and truly believing in what your God-given talent is. And so
that's very valid, because I'd be the one that would think of all the things that could go wrong, and then I'd be so overwhelmed I wouldn't attempt it.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's why we make a good team, is because you guys are like, no, let's just do it. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah. See, I help where I can. Dad a lot, because when I look at Dad, I think of him being fearless. Mm-hmm. Like, even though he has expressed so many nights where he couldn't fall asleep because he's like, I don't have the money to make payroll, he would always, it's not like he moved before he thought, but he moved before he had cash. Yeah. Like, we don't have cash flow a lot of the time too when we're trying to do big projects, but we're like, we have to keep moving, you know, like there's sometimes where money's just tighter depending on the time of the month or what's going on or how the economy is. And that was something like Dad just like overcame over and over and over again. And his story is pretty much, we should have him on the podcast. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this turned into how we work together, to how much we respect Dad.
It'll open up his autobiography he wants to write. Eagles wobble, but they never fall down.
That's right. But I feel like what I've learned from him and why we I think had the courage to start a business is because we watched him do it. I mean, he's such a big part of our story because we grew up with a dad who was like, basically trailblazing an industry and doing things nobody had ever done. Like, our dad is incredibly brilliant, and like when you hear his story, you're like, oh my gosh, like how are you still alive? Like, he combated so many hardships, and I think in the almost 7 years that we've been in business, I feel like if you have a small business, you feel like you hit walls constantly. You're like, oh, I hit this wall, I'm pivoting. I hit this wall, now I have to turn left. And he did that, but his were much larger than ours. Like, but anyways, his story is really interesting, but he really, from the beginning, like, I think believed in us more than we believed in ourselves. And even in times where like we've come across really hard times, like he was like, you're going to get out of it. You're going to be fine. And we're always like, but how? And he's like, well, you'll figure it out. And we're like, but how? And he's always like pushed us forward. And I feel like in the seasons where things are really tough, like, he is the reason we've kept going, truthfully. Him and Mom's prayer.
Well, and to answer the original question, the reason that we started is because we I had started buying things for Brecken on Instagram, and you were having trouble finding like cute boy clothes for Riv. And I just out of nowhere one day was like, I think we could do this ourselves. We should open up an Instagram shop, because it was really like at the beginning of Instagram shops as a whole. It was like kind of this whole new thing. But we don't sew, and we have absolutely no knowledge of like how to design it. But I was like, I think we could do this. Let's go. And you were like, you're crazy.
Yeah, harebrained idea. You're like, let's sell
I was
leggings.
like, we'll figure it out. We will learn how to sew.
Let's sell leggings on the internet. And I'm like, what? What are you even
coming from automotive?
There was like a really big trend on Instagram at the time. So Instagram still was chronological, and you could grow really quickly on Instagram. If you see a lot of the like really big influencers, especially like the fashion influencers or lifestyle YouTubers, like they grew in 2015, 2016, 2017, and the years that we grew. Like we really got in on the spike of like, you can grow really fast on this platform before Instagram changed. So it wasn't like that weird, because tons of our friends were like opening earring shops, or like, you know, a lot of people had like a quote unquote side hustle that they were just selling things on Instagram. So it wasn't that odd.
It wasn't weird that we wanted to start a business. It was weird that Tara wanted to sew leggings when we don't sew.
Okay, we found out really quickly
the details, guys, the details.
Yes, and when we found out we couldn't sew, we pivoted, and I found us an outsourcing opportunity.
Yeah.
Learning experience number 1 for Whitney. Tara's like, you know what? We're not good at sewing, so let's get someone to sew them for us. Like, okay.
We were like, well,
works.
It's going to take 3 hours to sew one pair, and there's a hole in the crotch after that one, so we probably need someone else to do this for us.
Yeah, we learned quickly that wasn't the best option. So we opened a kids clothing company on May 1st, 2015. So it was kids leggings and t-shirts, and we did 0 to 3 to 6T. That was like our original idea. So anyways, the next question I had, what is each person's role in the business?
You want to say what you do?
Sure. So, well, and this is, my role really hasn't changed a lot from the beginning, because I've kind of stayed the same, but I would say all of us have picked up things along the way and like have changed a decent amount from the beginning. But my role is sales and marketing, and then buying for the boutique. So we've pivoted more into women's clothing. We're trying to figure out a way to bring back kids eventually in some capacity. But yeah, I do all the buying for the women's clothing side, and then I'm in charge of like socials and marketing ideas and promos and stuff. And I partner a lot with Sarah on our team, and then Tara for that part of it.
Yours has changed over a lot.
Mine, I'm just the chameleon, guys. It's just whatever needs to be done, I'll do it. And if I don't know how to do it, apparently I learn how to do it. So I essentially do the photos right now. So all the photos on our website, I take them and I edit them. And then I do apparel design. I used to design the kids' leggings and clothes before we kind of closed that down for the time being. And then I create merch for people. I do graphic design if I need it. I created the podcast cover photo, which I'm really proud of. I think it's really cute. Yeah, that's kind of
Whitney is like all things creative for the most part, like is your role.
I'll do inventory and orders if I'm needed there. I've done customer service for a while. I did oversells. I model.
We're all models. We no longer have models, so it's just the three of us.
We are the models. If you have breath and a pulse, you are a model.
Yep.
I kind of handle like the back end pieces of the business. So I'm always looking for new systems and softwares that would help us make us more efficient and help like propel us forward. Anything that would be a way to advance the company as a whole, whether it's, better profit margins or systems that would like lessen the overhead that we're taking. We recently instilled like a new return program that's more automated. And then I do all of the accounting piece of it. Like I'm meeting with the accountant, going over what the numbers are monthly, as well as keeping track of the bills and, what we're paying to who and when. And so really just kind of the behind the scenes piece, in addition to obviously being in photos. And then
Tara's also really good at our collab process. Like we've instilled, or at least we've tried to once a month to do an influencer collaboration with our network of friends that, like Whitney said, may want to have merch for their brand or for their Instagram following. And so we've partnered with a bunch of different people, but our biggest collaboration has been with Sharon Says So, who's a dear friend of ours. And that is a lot of moving parts because she has like one of the most powerful communities on the internet, and somehow she's entrusted us to partner with her. And I feel like we've done an amazing job with how just the mass amounts of people that she's speaking to, that we've kept up with the volume. But there's a lot of moving parts to putting those collabs together, and Tara's really gifted at like vendor relations. I guess I would also add that to your like repertoire. Like I can pick out product, but I'm not really great at like organizing how much we're buying, like keeping track of all the numbers. Like that's just kind of over my head. Anything spreadsheets related is just not my thing.
Well, and I think the thing we've said this on countless occasions, but what's weird to me is that if you would have said, I got my degree in business and Whit got her degree in art and you got your degree in, fashion merchandising, how in the world would you ever take those 3 degrees and put them together and actually make like a viable company? And in this environment, it works really well. So
yeah,
it made sense how all 3 came together to, bring it to fruition.
And within the umbrella of Royal and Reese, we've tried a lot of different ideas. I think it'd be funny to kind of go over like a couple of random ones. At one point we were offering styling sessions.
Mm-hmm.
We've sold home decor.
Yes.
We've sold, what else? Candles.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I can't even think of all the different things.
We were actually making our own fabric in-house for a little while.
We had a fabric printer. We've done swim.
Oh yeah, I can add that to my my ammunition. I know how to run
a fabric printer.
a fabric printer. That was something I had to learn real quick on the fly.
We've hosted internships that have had over 15 students a semester. Mm-hmm. We used to have an in-house design team, like a full manufacturing team in the office.
Like we've done sewing machines, we've done cutting
subscription boxes.
Yes. Subscription boxes.
We have done digital downloads.
Yes, at some point. We did a workout collection and workout classes.
Yeah, workout video.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was a fun project. I actually just saw pictures of that recently.
I was so skinny in those videos.
I was not.
I was actually doing the workout.
I was going to say, we last year instilled print on demand, which is where we work with like a third-party company. Now we have a screen printer in Nashville, but where we like would create designs and it would go through a printing company. So we could print anything from like yoga mats to water bottles to hats and sweatshirts. And so we created a collection called TV shows, and we did like merch from all of our favorite TV shows, which was a huge hit. What else have we done? We sell makeup now. Yeah.
Obviously sold kids at one point.
Kids clothes.
Yeah, we didn't sell kids.
Yeah, we didn't sell kids.
Oh my gosh.
Kids for sale.
Jesse, cut that out.
Last year, or for Sharon's collection, was the first time we ever sold like any beverage or food item. We sold hot chocolate.
Yeah.
Oh no, I guess we did coffee before.
Yeah, that's true.
We also, for 2 different seasons, were featured in Us Weekly.
Yes. In Touch.
Us Weekly? I think I have a picture of me holding Us.
Oh, you're right. It's Us Weekly. Yeah.
And we also were asked one year to go to the was it Grammys? Billboard Music Awards?
Gifting suite for
American Music Awards.
American Music Awards. We were in the gifting suite for that, and so we got to meet some fun celebrities and give them gifts for the Love You More collection, which is a Mommy and Me collection we come out with every year around Valentine's Day.
Were they fun celebrities?
Well, we got to meet Oscar from The Office. That was
probably my favorite.
Yeah. The rest of them, I was like, they would like hold up a sign to tell them who they were. But at the time, I wasn't like super into pop culture. Maybe now I would be like, I would know who the people are.
Yeah.
And like the internet has changed so much. I feel like it would be like a bunch of TikTokers now.
Yeah, for sure.
Like if you went to a gifting suite now. So anyways, all that being said, there's been a lot that's been encompassed in this journey, and
you're kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what's going to stick, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's half of business, is trying to figure out exactly what works. And
Right.
so along the way, you kind of try out new things and keep the ones that do and get rid of the ones that don't.
So my first question, diving into the juicy questions, what is the hardest part of working with family?
I think the best piece of
Crickets.
advice, I think the best piece of advice that Dad gave us at the very beginning is that he said, first and foremost, you guys are family. And if the
Mhm.
business ever comes between the three of you, your relationship, then you're going to shut down the business, because your relationship is not worth, the business is not worth ruining the relationship.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's probably been the best piece of advice, because there's always going to be frustrations along the way when you're in a high intensity environment. And it could be very easy to like cast blame on like, you're not doing enough, or you could be doing more, you could be doing this or that, because you're in a very heightened situation. And I think we've done a really good job of keeping those frustrations at bay, to not to ruin the working relationships that we have, or
Well,
the actual family relationships outside of it.
I feel like we trust each other, that we know we're all doing the most that we could be doing, you know?
Right.
I don't feel like I go home at night and think, man, Tara didn't do enough. Like, no. I feel like we all trust that we know we're doing as much as we can, because we all want it to succeed as much as we can.
I was going to say too, we have 2 employees on our staff that are also family members. So we have one of our cousins and my sister-in-law that work for us. And I feel like the best thing that I try to do is, no matter what the situation is, I always give the person the benefit of the doubt. Like if a mistake was made, or something I see that is like not done right, or something, whatever, I always assume like the best in that person. And I don't automatically assume like they were the person that made the mistake or attack them. I like ask in a kind way, like, hey, like, do you know why this happened or something? Or especially when it comes to my sisters, like there's a lot of cheap shots you could take. And sometimes I do take them, and I'm sorry for that.
We all have.
While.
Every one of us have done it at some point in time.
But I feel like the older we get and the longer we've done this business, like especially if I know that my sister made an error and an employee is coming to him, I always say, we did that. And I won't be like, oh, Whit's an idiot and she forgot to do X. Like I would never like single-handedly point out my sister to an employee, 1, because it's disrespectful, and 2, it just makes us look divided. And so I just always feel like it's best to take responsibility together as a team, instead of like pointing out, because I don't want our employees also to think that like I have beef with Tara or Whit, and think like, oh, like she's throwing her under the bus privately to me in this situation, which I think is just not right. You know what I mean?
I think
So
it's
I feel
taken
like
though
overall,
7 years of communication, learning communication styles, because we obviously didn't do it great in the beginning. I
right.
think it's been a culmination of learning how to best communicate with one another, because I don't know if we've had knockdown dragouts necessarily, but we've definitely had some heated conversations over the last 7 years where someone has gotten their feelings hurt, or someone has gotten mad, someone has, hung up the phone or stomped out of the room. Like those situations have been there, right? Like,
Right.
but through those situations, it has given us insight into each other's personalities. It's given us better, what I want to say, like wisdom on how to handle those situations going forward, to
I
have
also
more
think
sensitivity.
more self-awareness too, to
Yeah.
know like your own responsibility in the situation, and also your own responsibility in how you made that other person feel.
Yeah.
Right.
And in the end, it doesn't really matter what the problem was. It's more about coming up with a solution. It's not like someone was incompetent.
Yeah.
If anything did happen, it was a mistake.
I think 9 times out of 10, anytime something has arisen, it's more out of a situation of stress and not anything else. Like it's
Yeah.
because of, things have been tight, things have been stressful, things have been like you're under the gun, you're behind a deadline, whatever. Like I don't think we've ever really gotten frustrated with each other just like randomly. It's always been like a heightened scenario.
Right.
And somehow they always fall on promo days.
The funniest frustration that I can think of that, like, I won't get into like dirty laundry, but this one I think is funny. Back in the old office, we wanted to do this promo around a shopping spree at Ulta. Do you remember this? And
Yes.
Tara was like so against it because she was
I
like,
thought it was a stupid idea.
she was like, I think this idea is so dumb and nobody cares this much about makeup. And me and Whitney were like, we do. Like, we love makeup. And so we went to.
It wasn't even just makeup. It was like hair products. And
Yeah.
like
So we had a
everything.
budget of like $600 and we bought, oh my gosh, like this person, I don't even remember who won it, but the person that won it like scored. And it was like 3 full bags full of like makeup palettes and hairspray and like all of our favorite products.
I think the promo did really well.
It
Like,
did
I had,
do well.
Like it like crushed it. Like the promo did insane. Like I think we did like almost 30,000 in sales in one day. And I just remember like you were frustrated.
You were like,
and
you were so smug about it too. You were like,
no, you actually ended up apologizing to me. That's what I was going to say. So during the promo day, Tara didn't come to the office in the morning. She was frustrated about the promo, and you came around lunch, and I was leaving town that night because I was driving back to Nashville. And I remember you texted me and said, I'm sorry, I overreacted. It's just not a promo I would be excited about, but I should have seen, like you came to me and you said, I should have seen the potential and knew that you would, like if you believed in it, that the sales would do well.
The funny part about it is now I don't know why I would even have cared because like, I mean, maybe it's because we sell makeup now, but like, I don't know why I would have cared if you guys had chosen that. It was, I think honestly what it was more deeply rooted in is that I was really kind of the promo idea person. And I think there was a piece of me that was, well, I just mean up until that point, I had really been the one that had come up with most of the promo ideas or things like that. So I think some of it,
little snot you are.
Well, I'm just saying, I think some of it was probably rooted in the fact that it wasn't my idea and I didn't come up with it.
I'm so shocked by this admission of yours.
Well, I don't remember if that's exactly what went down, but I'm just speculating.
You're like speculating.
I know myself, and I was probably mad that it wasn't my good idea.
I'm a wing 7. There is a FOMO in me. I hate when people have fun without me.
That was your own fault, though. You could have come to Ulta with us.
But I don't.
But like, if she didn't care about makeup, like, why would you want to come pick out a full bag, like $600 worth of makeup? Like, that wouldn't be fun for you. That would be like you guys being like, let's go to Vitamin World and do like a promo about like $1,000 worth of vitamins. I'd have been like, no thanks. Like, why are we
or dragging me to a bookstore?
Yeah, that's true.
Our book club that Tara doesn't want to be a part of.
That I'm unwillingly in charge of.
But yeah, I mean, for the most part, like we've had some other funny stories. Like one was the first time we ever did Sweep the States. We tried to get an order in every single state, and we were probably like pretty presumptuous at this point because we were still doing business out of Tara's house.
Yeah, we didn't know if we had customers in all 50 states.
We definitely didn't think that we did, but we were like, let's just try it. And like we miscommunicated. I don't even remember how it came about.
Working with our other job as part of it.
That's
and so
Whit
had dealer trainings to do, and there was a miscommunication as to when we were going to go live. We thought we were going to like take turns, and you thought we were doing it all together.
Oh yeah.
So you showed up, walked in the door when we were halfway through it, and you walked back out and went home, and we were like, what?
I was like,
and then
no, you
why
literally
did you do this without me?
She literally opened the door, looked at us, and just shut the door.
We were like, what happened? And we tried to text her and you wouldn't respond. And then we all had to come over to your house after the live was over and we chatted it out.
But I could just see her like walking down.
Days. I was very
sidewalk wiping tears.
These are the early days because I was very insecure about being needed, apparently. And I wasn't needed apparently for the live. And yeah, I don't even really remember. I just remember being annoyed I wasn't involved, but we've come a long way since then.
I will say that a lot of ours, if we do have like any disagreements, it stems from miscommunication.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've gotten a lot better at that.
Or it's like projection of someone's like fear.
Yeah. Okay. What's the next question, Kait?
Okay. So what's the best thing about working with family?
I think the best part about it is that if you went into business with a friend, I feel like you have to be really careful of like hurting someone's feelings or stepping on someone's toes. And with family, you can say your piece and move on. Because you trust each other and love each other enough that you can, if you do have a frustration, you can air it and move past it. And so I feel like that's one of the best parts of it. in addition to that, you always have somebody that you're working with that you know has your back.
Mhm.
Like you're
Yeah.
one, you're not going to get stabbed in the back, and two, you literally know you have two other people that are going to have you help you hold the walls up when no one else is or can.
Yeah.
And we've been in that situation on more than one occasion, you know,
Mhm.
but I don't ever doubt that you guys are going to be there and supportive.
I feel like I am the most comfortable with you guys, obviously. And you always laugh at my jokes because you understand you understand what I'm getting at. So I feel like it's always fun. There's always a level of fun to it for me.
Yeah, I feel like we've walked through the hardest part of our business already.
Hopefully.
Why are you smiling?
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just feel like we're in this season where God has promised that he's going to restore what the locusts have eaten. And that has come up, you know, that verse and that prophecy over us has come up so much over the past 3 years. And I feel like the three of us did a fast about, well, we talked about it on the podcast, it was like 3 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And just really praying for breakthrough in the business and really just like coming to the Lord and all three kind of being, being in agreement that like we're ready and willing to be led where God wants us to go in this business, which we've always felt that, but like just praying through a breakthrough. And it's kind of funny because I just feel like the Lord has been like turning the tides for us the last couple of weeks. And some of that could also be the fact that a lot of the world is coming out of a fog of obviously the pandemic and life is somewhat like returning back to normal. But I just feel like our customers feel the most connected to us that they ever have or they have in the last 3 years. And like, I just feel really present in relationships with them. I feel really good about like the future of what we have planned. I feel like the podcast.
I was going to say there's an excitement around the brand that I don't feel like has been there in a long time. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I was saying this to Mom this morning. I don't know if it's us or if
Right.
it's them or if it's a combination of the two, but there's something that definitely feels different.
Something shifted for me.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like in the
Correct.
past month that I've felt it the most. Like, I feel like there's a new wave
Mhm.
of the future that I feel really like excited to be a part of.
There's a new hope. There's a new
Yeah.
energy. You know, I think when you've spent a long time, I think our biggest detriment in business is that we basically took off and skyrocketed. And it
Yeah.
was like you didn't have time to see where the floor was because you were just breaking through the ceiling at every turn.
Right.
And that was fun, but at the same time you didn't learn a lot along the way because you were just trying to figure out like how to get to like that next level because it was going gangbusters.
Yeah.
And when that plateaued and came down is when you start realizing, okay, this is where the rubber meets the road. And this is when you really realize if you're actually good at what you do, because you keep, you know, you have to maintain and keep rather than just figuring out how to like, because honestly, I think we're smarter business owners now for what we went through than what we ever were in those years that I was doing well. And,
Yeah.
you know, as they say, it's about what you keep, not what you make. And so
Right.
it's allowed us in the time of desert as things have, you know, pulled back and things have been really tight and, you know, a constant pivot as social media has constantly changed. It's allowed us to go in and be really efficient with our processes and really efficient with even our personnel, like how much you can get done with the number of people that you have. And so I feel like it has given us the time to really settle in to what we know we're good at and what we do best and be able to now.
And I feel like
grow
our
again.
team all has like a spirit of gratitude. Like, I feel like based on what we've experienced together and how we've battled the pandemic together, I think every small business can like look back and be like, wow, I can't believe we survived that, because there's a lot of businesses that didn't. And so I feel like our team all has this feeling of like, wow, it's like so cool that we've like made it through, you know? And I feel like we're all working at a place, it's like the strongest and also the best that we've ever communicated with each other. Everyone really knows the way that the other person works. And again, I feel like our team is really respectful of like what we want to do, even if we have brain-haired ideas. And then, I mean, I feel like I can count brain-haired. What is it?
Hairbrained.
Hairbrained ideas. Brain-haired ideas. I feel like I can count, or I can't count how many times we've gone to Libby and we're like, we want to do this promo and here's the details. And she's like, great, when do you need the graphic by? And we're like, tonight, like we're doing it tomorrow. And I feel like everyone's just had like a patience and like the grit and the willingness to get through it. So I feel like that's been like really cool to see the camaraderie of the team.
Yeah.
I feel like the spirit keeps pressing in and saying 7. Like we're in year 7, and 7 is the number of completion. And I feel like in the last 7 years, we've gone through pretty much anything and everything a business owner can go through.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe, and I'm not saying this is the end of like issues. We're always going to face them. But I feel like we know now what to do in them because we've gone through as much as we possibly could go through in the last 7 years. So there's not really a whole lot of fear beyond that. You know, I feel like we've already seen it. It's like, whatever comes, we've already been there, you know?
And I feel like there's been a healing in my heart over, and I've talked with you guys about this before too, but like I carried a lot of shame over the hard times and like layoffs and things that were like really painful for us to walk through, feeling like it was my fault and that I could have done something better and like could have caught it quicker or whatever. And I was at dinner with one of my best friends, Jake, the other night, and I was in tears over the relationships that I feel like I've lost.
Yeah.
And I kept saying like, I don't feel like I deserve to be their friend, but I want to be still. And like, I feel like I've invested so much of my life and heart in these people that I like love so much. I'm going to get teary just saying it. Hang on, I'm going to compose myself because I'm not going to cry. But I was saying like, I feel like that there's like this time loss and this investment that like I, you know, poured in. And Jake was like, he like looked in my eyes and he's like, I want you to know it's not your fault. And he was like, you have to like release the shame of like what happened, because he was like, if you could have done something different, you would have. And I think that that was like such a freeing moment for me, because he was like, even though those relationships are not still there, and like we had to make hard decisions because of the pandemic, like literally the hardest like season of our life, like I have to like release the fact that like I know in my heart how much I love each one of those people, and I think deep down they do too, you know.
I think the hardest part of it is that you never can display how much they actually mean to you, because in the moment all they can hear is that you're no longer here, and that we can't keep you. But the reality is that we saw the writing on the wall long before we actually did it. And not with the pandemic, but because the pandemic came out of nowhere. But I just mean, when we've had to do layoffs in the past, we did see it, and we had those conversations, but we did everything in our power in advance of that to make sure that we didn't have to lay anybody off, because we took out loans. My personal credit was ruined because of, you know, trying to do things to try to save, to save the employees. And we went out of our way. We worked extra hours, whatever it took to be able to try to, we all took pay cuts twice. And, you know, we've done everything we can at the expense of us to save employees on more than one occasion. And I think that that's the hardest part, is because when in the moment, all that they get to see is that we have to let them go. And the reality is that the turmoil that you go through leading up to that, and then also in that conversation and the aftermath of that, I don't want anyone to ever feel like that it was in vain, you know, because those are, if there's anything that we could take back and do all over again, it would be those situations. And I don't want those people to ever feel like they didn't mean something to us, because they played big roles at the time that they were here, and helped us grow in those moments. And, you know, it's so hard the reality is it's just business. It's not personal. But when you have a personalized business, it becomes personal, and it feels personal. And those people felt like family, and, you know, still feel like family. And so you feel like, it feels like a death in the family is what you really walk away feeling like. And
I think I grieved it like a death.
Yeah.
I grieved it for a lot of months.
Yeah.
And even still talking about it, we all still like tear up about it
Mhm.
because it does feel like a death in the family.
It does. And it's exactly what it feels like. And even though you want it to be normal, when you do see them, it's just not normal. And it's
Yeah.
like, no matter how much you want to make it normalize, there's always this sense of like, we let them down. And that's how I've walked away. It's a feeling of
It
that
feels like failure. Like you
it
failed
does.
them.
Yeah. It feels like you failed your family. And so I think
It's a hard pill to swallow, you
Yeah.
know?
and the reality of it is that you're just trying to do whatever you possibly can to make sure that you're still in business, but it does not take away the fact that there's hurts along the way. And
Yeah.
that's like I think that's probably been the hardest thing to navigate through, is the relationships that unfortunately have felt like they've been lost along the way, because
I mean,
of
it did
what has
get,
happened.
I can go on knowing in my heart that it was either us or them.
Yeah.
Like it was either us or we just closed the whole, or them or we closed the whole thing down.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make it any easier.
Mm-mm.
And it doesn't, like, they won't necessarily understand that, to the fullest
I think
amount.
that we could give people credit in knowing that they probably do understand that. Like, I think that what no one will ever see, like you said, is the sacrifice that happened before that conversation happened.
Yeah, that's what
like
I
the
mean.
main-
Is
yeah,
they wouldn't have known that,
right.
And
I
we wouldn't have
remember
wanted to put that on them either.
right. I remember one of the first layoffs we ever did before the pandemic. We talked about it on a previous episode that we've never published because the three of us had never talked about it before.
Yeah.
And then we filmed this episode and all three of us were just blubbering into our mics. And we were like, you know what? I think this is not the episode to post for our first podcast episode. Like there's just so much trauma with that, because I literally, and I guess let me preface this, I don't know a single friend in my life that works for a business who didn't do layoffs in the past 2 years. I'm not joking. Like dozens and dozens and dozens of my friends were either laid off or had friends that were laid off, and every single company has gone through it, like big corporate companies. So I'm not trying to like hold ourselves to a different standard. It's just the emotions that we have felt with doing it have been very different than probably like a corporate company, because you don't really feel like family at a big company. Most of the time you just feel like a number. And so it's not as hard of a blow. But yeah, I just feel like I just remember the very first
Let's
layoff.
rephrase that. It's still a hard blow to the people that are getting let go. It
Right,
doesn't
right.
feel as hard of a blow to a corporate level situation.
Right. Or I
Because
just mean like
it's
they're
not
probably
as
handling it more like it's business
corporate.
and like
Yeah.
there's no emotion, at least for like the interaction. It's probably just like the company's decided your position's being, eliminated. Of course, there's like so many emotions tied to the person that's getting let go. But yeah, I think that this was the first time that we all three looked at ourselves and it was like, it's either we do this or the business is over, like we have to make a hard like shift. And like Tara said, like I remember telling my dad like just saying like, this is the worst day of my life. And he just said, sorry. He just said, baby girl, it's you or them. It's your job or theirs. And I've never forgotten that, because I do feel like it's one of those crazy situations where I would have rather like died than hurting someone's feelings or like making someone feel like they weren't important to us. And maybe that makes us weak. I don't know. Like maybe we should be tougher business owners, but I feel like relationships with employees have always been such like a huge priority to us. And I think that that's like why we still all get emotional about this topic. Sorry, I was not expecting to go into this, but
I was kind of hoping to avoid it, but here we are.
I guess what I want to say is like, I feel like the thing that we've all like recognized is we've had to like release the shame of saying like, we did all that we could and we love every single person that's been with us past and present. And if there's something we could have done, we would have.
I think the reality of business is that no matter whether it's good or it's bad, it's always hard.
It's
And
always hard. Yeah.
it it requires a constant pivot. I feel like in my head, I'm always looking to get to this place of like where it's going to be easier. And I just remember mom saying to me the last time we were in Nashville, she was just like, business is just hard. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to get to this easy stage. And when you
Right.
had 55 employees, it was just a different kind of hard, right? Because
Yeah.
the payroll was 3 times what it is now. And so the pressure of that was different. It was a different level of hard. And now that you have, 8 employees, it's still pressure, but it's just
Yeah.
a different kind of pressure. So it does not change. And you can't think that you're just gonna be like, okay, we finally found like our groove and now we're going, because in 6 months it's going to be something different. So I think that helped give me like a mindset shift, because I think I have thought that like if we get back to this place, or if we find this like puzzle piece that finally fits, that it's going to like something's going to ease up. And I think the
Right.
reality is that it doesn't. Like
Right.
there might be some things that are actually working better, and you've kind of found this alignment that is now doing well, but it doesn't change the fact that there's always going to be a toughness and a pressure around business.
Right.
So
And I think I like the thing that I felt like dad gave me peace about was that he was like, the main thing that you have to remember is like the next day you wake up and you look around and you say, okay, let's rebuild. And I remember him saying that, like, you're going to look at your sisters and you're going to link arms. I'm sorry, I got to get past this crying moment. You're going to link arms and like you have to move forward. And his encouragement, I just remember him saying, like, I've been there so many times. And it is the worst part about business is saying goodbye to relationships. Like it is quite possibly like the worst feeling, but he was like, you just have to pick yourself up and move forward. And I think the other thing that I've felt peace about is that like people that have been with us previously, it's been such a cool thing to watch them release and do something else. And like sometimes I wonder, like, maybe God's best for that person wasn't with Royal and Reese too, like watching these people expand and do their own thing and other roles that they've taken on or businesses that they've started. It's actually been like really inspiring to watch them grow and use maybe some of the experiences they learned with us to do another venture. And that's actually been really cool and awesome to watch. So I feel like knowing that like the investment and the time was worth the time that they were with us, and that there will always be so many fond memories and relationships and memories will hold dear with those people in those seasons of life.
for sure.
Okay, so to pivot, what's the most rewarding thing about owning a small business?
For me, I always said that I never wanted to be in a big business and be this small fish. I wanted to work in a small business and be able to be a big fish in a small pond where you could actually make a difference. And when we worked for our dad, we went through, essentially the recession with him, and we went from having over 150 employees down to like 20. And, I was with him during that time, and that was extremely painful experience. And, we were losing hundreds of dealers by the day, and we had to let go of like our entire sales staff with the exception of like 5. And it was a very tumultuous time. And so it was kind of the same situation where we all had to like, after the dust had cleared, you're like, okay, what do we do now? And everybody picked up multiple hats, and we just like, like you said, link arms in solidarity and say, okay, we got to do this. And the part that I loved about that though is I liked being able to be on the inner circle of knowing what was going on, being part of his executive team where I got to help build and grow this company and be with all of these huge, big thinkers and dreamers and visionaries, and get to be right in the midst of that. I feel like I got a front row seat to really watch dad's brain work and all the people he had on this team to bring it to fruition. And so I enjoy that with this as well, because I never have enjoyed big corporate business. I just feel like movements are so slow. It takes so long to get anywhere and do anything. And I like the fact that we can run on a dime, we can come up with an idea today and execute it tomorrow. I like the fact that we can try something. If it doesn't work, we can move on to something else. I like the fact that I can work with family, and that I can have also the flexibility of being able to be with my family, that I can
Yeah.
next week go to Briley's, field trip and ride with her on a train and be back at work in the afternoon. Like,
Right.
I like the flexibility of that. And I think after going through him selling the company and going from being completely in the know to a total island and not knowing what in the world's going on and why we're doing what we're doing, and things being handled differently than you would hope for, I was just like, I don't want to be a part of that ever again. I
Yeah.
want so it's interesting because when I watched Dad struggle through his career, there was times that you thought it'd just be easier, why don't you just like quit and go get a job, like, because if
Right.
it's not working, like, just do something different. And I just remember him saying, I'll never work for somebody else ever again.
Yeah.
And I understand now, being in those same shoes of being able to do what we've done, the idea of ever having to leave what we have and or work for somebody else literally does not like even come into my brain, because I'm just like, I'm not going to do it. So
Mhm.
I will be clawing and scratching at the walls to make sure that we don't ever have to do anything different.
A couple months ago, Mom and I were talking about the business and just like, turning the tide since the pandemic and how to change and praying through stuff. And I said, well, it's either this or we all go find another job. And she goes, no, Kait, it's just this. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, it's just this. You guys don't have another like option. Like Royal and Reese is God's prophecy for you. It's God's promised land. Like it's this or nothing. Like it's you girls against the world. And not that she was saying like we aren't capable of getting other jobs, but it put it in perspective where she was just like, you have to fight because you don't really have another option. Like you girls are in it for the long haul. And I was like, no, I agree. And I think she just meant like we can continue to pivot within under the umbrella of Royal and Reese, because really at this point we could pivot to whatever we wanted to do. If we wanted to like, just sell makeup, or if we wanted to do consulting, like there's a lot of like opportunities now based on like what we've built that we could pivot into. But she was just like, I really truly feel like God called you to this, and that's like, this is where you're supposed to be,
Well, and I feel like when you're truly working within your passion and your
Yeah.
God-given talents, then it doesn't feel like work. And I think that that's also part of it, is that I don't ever like loathe a Monday. Like I actually look forward to the week ahead of like, okay, let's get back at it. What are we doing this week type of thing.
Right.
And I just feel like it's kind of like, Vicky saying to Phil, no, honey, you're a drummer. You always will be.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of what Royal and Reese feels like to us too. It's like, this is
Mhm.
what we were meant to do, and this is what we're going to do. And whether that means that it's podcasting or selling clothes or, makeup or nail strips or, consulting or whatever it is, it's going to be under the guise of Royal and Reese, and we're going to do it together. So
We can't do nail strips because I can't file my nails. So that is off the table. Like literally off the table.
that's not on the docket. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm just teasing. Wait, what's your most rewarding thing about business?
So I graduated with a painting degree. So I didn't really know what I was good at except for like physical art.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the business has really kind of opened my eyes to the things I'm actually capable of doing and what I'm actually really good at. And I'm good at a lot of things.
You are. You're so talented.
I feel like it was helpful for me to kind of understand like, I can add something to the table, and I'm not just a painter.
Right.
And I don't have just like useless skill, And so I feel like for me, it kind of gave me a little bit more of an identity and understand like how God made me and like, the things I can use that are actually helpful.
Yeah.
What about you, Kait?
I would say I feel like I've always been a dreamer, and it's given me the ability to dream beyond what I ever thought I could do. Like one of my favorite stories is when we were kind of like moving Royal and Reese and from like a side hustle to like being like, okay, this is our plan to get out of our full-time job. We had this, I told this story on my Instagram right before Reach for the Stars, but we had this meeting with our dad in the basement at Christmas, and we had mapped out this plan of how to get 75,000 people in our Facebook group. And then he was like, at $1 million, we're giving away a car. Like, it was just like, my
So
dad
keep
is,
adding your friends.
yeah, so keep adding your friends. We're a quarter of the way there. And he was just like putting out all of these things, and all three of us are just kind of sitting there like wide-eyed and being like, what the heck, you know? And he's mapping out exactly how we're going to do it and basically saying like, here's your game plan. So we go upstairs, and you two had left, and I'm walking out to the garage to walk to Whitney's house because they live across the street from each other. So I was staying at Whit's. And I just remember my dad stopped me and he goes, Kait. And I like look back and he goes, do you believe it? And I was like, I want to. And he was like, believe it, baby girl. 2017? Whatever year it was.
Well, yeah,
he was
I think
like,
it was
next year is the year. He's like, we're gonna dream beyond what you think you're capable of. And I remember like I like turned and my eyes like filled with tears, and I walked the whole way to my car being like, I'm so overwhelmed for 2017. Like, I knew we had like this big plan. But the funny thing is we hit it by like March. I mean, we went like gangbusters, and like we went to town on that goal, and we hit 75,000 followers by the time we went on spring break.
Yeah.
And we bought balloons and took a picture in the parking lot of an Albertsons grocery store. After we ate some Mexican food for lunch, and we're like able to celebrate that goal like so quickly after it happened. So I was going to tie that with like, I feel like what's been super special about Royal and Reese is the connection that has come with the customers and our employees, like the people we've gotten to meet along the way that have worked for us or have interacted with the brand. I feel like Royal and Reese carries this sense of community, sisterhood, whatever you want to call it, that like is unprecedented. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. And the only thing I can compare it to is Sharon's community. She says they're unreasonable. Like, they're so generous, it's like actually unreasonable, like what they've been able to accomplish together. That is what I feel about our customers. Like, we have rallied together on so many different causes, and like they've given us like all these amazing promo days, and we've given away anything from an air fryer to a trip to Hawaii. Like, we've blessed so many people with these cool prizes because everyone has like believed in the same idea of like, we all work together, like we're gonna do this together. And it's crazy that through that, and through like selling clothes and makeup, like the stories that have come out of like how Royal and Reese has transformed people's lives, even from people saying like, I love watching your live videos when I'm sitting getting chemo, you know, treatments or whatever. And like how the Lord has really used it as like a launch pad for his kingdom. And I think that's what's been really special, is like we've just been kind of like open-handed with it and been like, God, like whatever you want to do with it, like we are the vessels. But I think that the really cool thing, and just to give perspective of like what we've walked through, is like Whitney said, like we've walked through so much that now I feel like I can relate to anyone. Like if someone brings something to me about a hardship, I can be like, me too. And I feel like the Lord has allowed us to encounter those things. Like, I can't tell you guys, I forgot to mention at this beginning of the episode, I've gotten like over 100 messages about the fertility podcast, and just like us opening up about our experiences, and how many people were like, I'm in the same spot, and like I really needed to hear this, or like I went through it and this was my story. And like, not only am I encouraging other people, but people were encouraging me in that season. And so I just feel like the Lord has really opened up this like two-way conversation where it's not just about furthering the business, it's actually about like furthering the community that's been built through the business. So that to me is like better than any sales goal and any monetary thing that I could buy or be. And me and Phil talk about this all the time, but like we look at like our house, or the fact that we have health insurance, and we're like, Royal and Reese is such a gift. Like, it has provided so many gorgeous things for our three families. And like, we're not like living in the lap of luxury, but we're like comfortable and well provided for, and just feel like so grateful for what this business has done for our lives. So I don't know, I'm excited for what's to come. Anyways. Okay, I will finish off with like a little happy situation. What is your favorite memory of Royal and Reese so far?
I think one of my favorite memories of Royal and Reese is when we did the friend's birthday party.
Yeah, that was so fun.
It was the first year we were here in this building, right? For the birthday.
Mhm.
I think so.
And so we were in the new space, and I had recreated the entire, like, Monica and Rachel's apartment in the space. And it was one, I think, because it fed my passion for event planning, but also because it was so fun to see the employees with their spouses having such a good time together. And I just look back on that evening with like such fond memories, because it was so fun to plan, and then it was so fun to see everybody also excited about like the party as well.
Right.
And I felt like everybody was so close to, it wasn't like going to this like awkward work party. Like everybody was like, oh, this is so, like, everybody wanted to come and be there. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
oh, I've got this thing after work, like it was a fun evening, and people were truly like really close friends and like wanted to hang out with their friends and be there. And we just, I don't know, when I think about it, that's one of my favorite memories.
I think one of the coolest memories was when we did the multiplier day, because that was probably the pinnacle of the height of what our business had ever been.
Yeah.
And the amount that we made that day is just insane.
That's the day we also drove around with the Briley boxes and dropped them off to people.
Oh yeah, we went around to people's houses and presented them with a fake check that said that they won $10, like this massive check. We were just being so dumb, but it was like so fun.
It was made for a fun day.
Yeah, it was just like the best day, like the most we'd ever made in a day on our own outside of a collab. And yeah, it was just really cool. It was kind of one of those pinnacle moments you look back on and be like, oh, those were the good old days.
I remember that
you
morning.
Were the good old days before.
I remember that day when we decided we were gonna, this is so stupid, we were gonna fake out VIP, that it was like, VIP is our Facebook group, that we were gonna be like, Tess was gonna come over really early and wake up me and Sarah. Do you remember this? This is so dumb, but it was so funny. I need to find the clip and post it when we post this episode. But so what we did is we got up at 5:30 and all got ready, and we said we were going to go live at 6 a.m. And so Tess goes live outside we'd already been to Starbucks, and I was full glam. Like I was literally had been awake since like 4:30. But Sarah and I wore the same t-shirt that was going live in the same color, in the same pair of jeans. And we got under the covers of the basement bedroom, and Tess was like sitting outside the bedroom. She was like, you guys, I brought the girls Starbucks, and I just realized like they didn't wake up in time. Like this is so crazy. Like we're gonna be able to wake them up. And so she sets up the tripod and she goes to wake us up, and me and Sarah both jump under the covers and we go, wake up, Royal and Reese. Like I was like, it's multiplier day, and I'm like screaming, and then literally we hit the goal in the first 20 minutes. We came down with, I was holding some baby. Was it Briley or Brecken? Okay.
Briley.
Brecken was in the bed with us, and I was holding Briley, and we were just passing around the baby and counting down, and we hit it. And I just remember we hit it at 8 or 6:20 in the morning, and then Dad texts us and goes, now double it. We texted him, we said, we did it in 20 minutes, and he goes, great, now double it. Like that's all he said back, and we're like, oh my gosh. But we ended up more than doubling it that day.
It's almost triple.
It was such a fun memory. One of my favorite memories ever is when we first moved out of Tara's basement and moved into our first office space. We decided we were going to do a local event, and I remember being so nervous that no one was going to show up. And I remember like we asked people to line up, and I was like, this is how I'm going to get people to show up. I'm going to do a doorbuster. And you guys are like, I don't think you're going to need it. And I was like, no, I'm going to do a doorbuster. It's going to be great. First of all, it was so cold that night. I don't know if you remember, but it was like
November.
Yeah. And I just remember it was like 7 o'clock or a couple minutes before 7. And I go up to the blinds and I look out and I go, oh, there's a lot of people out there. And then I like started getting really teary-eyed, and I was like, you guys, people actually showed up. So we took the vlog camera and we went outside and we're like high-fiving people. And it was just so cool. What's even weirder is we set up a step and repeat banner for people to take pictures with us.
Was
No,
it that
it's
first
for
one?
people so we could take pictures with our customers,
Oh yeah. But it
not
felt
the
like they were
other
like
way
taking a
around.
photo with us. But that whole day that night obviously was a really successful sale day, but it was just cool because it was like the first time we had done a couple other local events like out of our house and stuff where like 20, 30 people came, but this was like 150 people came that
Yeah,
night.
it was nuts.
And
we
it
didn't
was
have
like,
enough dressing rooms. People were waiting in line
yes,
forever. We didn't have enough checkouts. Like it was
my
insane.
mother-in-law
People were
came
so
to like
patient.
help. Do you remember that?
Was that the first night, the very first one she was at?
Yeah, her and her friend Tammy came and like
Was
helped
that the
us
night that you
run
made name tags out of crowns?
Yes,
I did.
Okay.
I have little crown name tags for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many fun memories. Like, obviously, anytime the three of us are together, it's a fun memory. Like, we have so many hilarious moments where we're at the office and we're just laughing because things are going wrong and there's nothing left to do but laugh. You know what I mean? But just kidding. Okay, so I want to, well, should we say, instead of doing Sisterhood Understood, should we say like what we're most excited about for the future?
Sure. Okay. You want to go?
I have no expectations, guys, of the future because, I mean, as you all know, I don't take risks, but I also am like, I've seen the highest highs and the lowest lows. So I'm just like, whatever comes, we'll ride it out. But I mean, as long as we're together, I feel like we can kind of conquer whatever we want.
Right. So Whitney has no hope in our future, basically.
That's not what I said.
She just said she's
That's
here
exactly
for the ride.
how Kait would interpret that too. Kait's expecting me to be like, I'm so excited about doing blah blah blah, and I'm
That's
just
right.
like, I don't have any expectations because I'm a realist.
I honestly feel like I'm the most excited and hopeful about the podcast because I feel like it's something that people have requested for like 4 years now. And I felt like when we first talked about doing it or tried to record it, it was kind of like just one more thing that we're going to do. And it didn't ever feel like we had a passion or purpose behind it until we finally sat down right before this and said, okay, what's the name going to be? What are we going to talk about? And it feels like it's the best link and transition from the business to it to be able to connect with customers in a different way that we've kind of missed during the pandemic piece, of the business. So I feel like that's the part that I'm most excited about because I feel like it's a very natural tendency for us to like sit down and chat and to be able to do that and like incorporate the customers into that, like asking them for topics if they want us to talk about and questions they want us to answer. I think it's just been fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I feel like the podcast is like the nucleus of our brand. And it's something we never really like acknowledged before. And now we've like have it out there. And I'm like, this like just makes sense.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it finally it feels like that missing puzzle piece that we were trying to find. And it's like the final piece that melds it all together.
What I was gonna say is I feel like there's been so many times in our business where we're like, not all the wheels are turning at once and it feels like it's clunky and like this needs to move but we have to work on this and like our attention is like really divided. And what I feel really excited about is like I feel like not only personally but with the business that we're in alignment, and I feel like we've felt like a pull and a what's the word I'm looking for, like a calling to do what we've always known to do. And you can get a lot of advice and a lot of ideas, but at the end of the day, like you truly know your customers and you know what's best for your business over anybody. And I think that like, I feel like between all the different between all of the like promo ideas we have and like the product that's coming in the podcast and like all the exciting things that we have coming for the business, I feel like this like swell of anticipation. And I feel like the closest I ever have to the customers, which I feel like has been like a really amazing gift to have this, like, even through the podcast, like this connection and this like intimacy, I guess is the word I'm looking for, that we haven't gotten to have in a long time. And in addition to that, I feel like the customers believe that too. And like they're all on the same team and on board with like what we want to do. And I think that's been really special. And one of the most beautiful things, though it's been really tough for the three of us, I think during the pandemic, is that all three of us have created boundaries in our personal lives. Like me and Tara, you know, got I feel like our health back in alignment with like doing 75 hard and kickstarting that. And Whitney's been on another different type of health journey as well. And like not working nights and weekends when we don't have to, like really investing in family time and like setting up boundaries when we're on vacation together to really enjoy like restorative time. Like everything we feel like was out of alignment that God called us to like pull back on, we have. And so it finally feels like, in my mind, like I'm most excited for the future because I feel like all of the wheels are turning at once. And though there's some days you feel pulled because you're like, oh, there's not enough hours in the day, like I truly feel like the investment in what is supposed to be invested in is happening, which I think is really special to be able to say that for the first time.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, same.
And I think it's cool that we're all on the same page. Like we're all like, yes, I all feel that way. And I think that's important for the business as well. Yeah.
Although I can't say that Tara's on board with Story Society just yet.
Yeah, that's probably the only piece.
I'm still here. It's not like the makeup promo.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you've loved this episode, go ahead and click that 5-star review and leave us a raving review. You can also catch us on YouTube and Rumble if you would like the full visual of the Sisterhood experience. And thank you for being part of our sisterhood. And we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.